Hello, my name's David and I'm a business and leadership consultant from the UK. Leading by example is a core behaviour for the modern successful leader. And I've already spoken about it in several other videos, and those of you who watched my top 10 series will recognise it as tip number 10. But leading by example is a responsibility as well as a tool. So today I'm going to be talking about it in a bit more detail. Thanks for joining us again today, and in this video I'll be talking about leading by example in more detail than I have before. Although it's certainly come up before in previous videos, leading by example is such a crucial element of effective leadership that it forms one of the 5 core factors of the leading with integrity approach. But more than that, it is also in many ways a responsibility. It is part of a leader's job to ensure that they are providing a good example to the rest of their organisation or their team, which is why it was my top tip number 10 in one of the first videos I ever did, and why it's come up so many times in other content I've done, and finally why I sign off these videos with be a leader, not a boss. Leading by example is a fundamental behaviour that a leader needs to display in any context. At the centre of it is the principle of moral authority and building trust in your leadership through credibility. People don't want to work for a manager or follow a leader who doesn't pull their own weight, and a leader shouldn't be expecting more from their team than from themselves. These core elements are the crux of the difference between a leader and a boss. Leading by example means holding yourself to the same standard as everyone else. All of which I've said before. So in today's video, I'm going to go a step further and give you my 6 suggestions for how you can lead by example in practice. The first one is to model the right behaviours. This means empathise, be honest, open and authentic. Do what you say you're going to do. Demonstrate the behaviours you expect from others. It's really about walking the talk and showing your team that you are being genuine in your interactions with them. Why does that matter? There's a few reasons, but the key one is that if you want your team or business to reflect certain values or certain ways of doing things, then it's unreasonable to expect that to happen in a vacuum or even just because you said so. Saying doesn't make it so. The best and most sustainable way of achieving it is for you to reflect those values and behaviours yourself in everything you do in the workplace. Number 2 is contribute to the effort. Don't be afraid to roll your sleeves up and help with the work. A leader should certainly make sure they're keeping their eye on the big picture, but that doesn't mean that they can't do any of the hands-on work themselves. Great leaders can and do both. This is also an excellent way of showing that you're supporting the team. This is important for teamwork and for your credibility with those you lead. It helps you prove that everyone is in it together and you're all working towards the same outcome. It also shows that you're not asking people to do something that you're not prepared to do yourself, so you're avoiding that hypocrisy trap. Demonstrating this kind of behaviour over the long term means that your people will be far more likely to pitch in and go above and beyond for you, because they will see you doing the same for them, and this will mean they become more emotionally and personally invested in the business, the team, or the goal. 3 is listen. Your phone, emails, or even a fellow manager or director are less important in the moment than the team member who's in front of you and whatever they are trying to tell you. Doubly so if you're in an arranged meeting. So whoever that team member is and whatever they're trying to talk to you about, make sure they know that you see them as your sole focus in that situation. Don't let the distractions interfere with your ability to listen to what they're saying actively and make sure you're asking relevant questions and clarifying meaning. and most importantly, that you then follow up or take action afterwards based on the conversation you've had. This is crucial for so many reasons. It feeds into the level of trust and respect that your teammates have towards you. It feeds into your credibility as their leader and to your moral authority. Because if you prove to be a leader who doesn't listen, then people will stop listening to you as well. And many of these elements of leading by example have a reciprocal nature just like that. If there's something that you need as a leader, then the chances are high that the team needs something similar from you. And the other big reason why it's important to listen and follow up on what you hear is that you want to encourage that dialogue within and between your team. If people don't think you listen, then they won't come to you with problems or opportunities, and the performance and the prospects of your organisation, business or team will suffer as a result. Fourth is let the team work without interference. This means interference from you, i.e. don't micromanage or constantly be looking over their shoulder, literally or figuratively, and don't constantly pester them for updates. It also means interference from others. As a leader or manager, one of your big responsibilities is to protect the team and their time from outside interference, and make sure that they are allowed the time and the headspace to concentrate on the job at hand. Once again, this is all about building credibility and trust. If you step aside every time a more senior manager or someone from another part of your own business wants to impose upon the time of your team, then you're going to really struggle to gain their trust and respect. But if, on the other hand, you're fighting their corner consistently, then you'll see the opposite result. And once again, this is a back and forth relationship. By protecting the team, you're ensuring they're able to get the job done, but you also gain their respect and by extension are more likely to get their best efforts. Number 5 is to take responsibility for mistakes. I've mentioned this in a previous video I did about the biggest mistakes that most leaders make, ironically. Whatever the background or context, being responsible for a team of people is a tough job. It certainly has perks and it can be a very fulfilling role in many respects. But with those comes the downside that you must take responsibility, or the blame, but I'm not really a fan of organisations that assign blame. In particular, that means that you're responsible for failure and for any mistakes made within the team, not just your own. It's important that you, as the leader, accept and take responsibility when things go wrong. Don't fall into the trap of looking for someone else to blame, evading your own responsibilities, or using the fear of punishment or failure as a tool for motivation. If you are reacting negatively when things go wrong and you're not taking it on the chin as the team leader, then this can prove quite damaging to the morale and the productivity of your team. As I've covered this before, you may remember that it doesn't mean you shouldn't address mistakes with the person or people who made them, but I think the key point is that you do so in a constructive, private manner, and that you're not hanging them out to dry in front of your entire organisation. In a similar vein, it is also vital that you acknowledge good work publicly and recognise the team member who produced it. Don't take the credit for yourself. This aspect of leading by example is one where you can build respect and rapport with the people you're leading relatively easily. Or if you get it wrong, you can just as easily lose all credibility with everyone in the business. Finally, number 6 is to look after yourself. This one is quite often overlooked, and the leader's mindset can quite easily become 100% outward looking. But if you're the manager who burns the candle at both ends, works insane hours and regularly burns out, perhaps without even realising, then it's important that you do take notice that that's the example you'll be setting to your team. You are responsible for their well-being and their results, so sending the message that it's okay to overwork yourself is ultimately the same as saying it's okay to underperform. If you don't look after yourself and manage your own productivity effectively, then your team won't either, and you'll be less able to get the best from them. It's also important because if you get yourself into a stressed out, burnt out situation, then you'll likely not be capable of leading effectively either. So as well as setting the wrong example, you will also have hampered productivity both of yourself as an individual and your whole team as a result. And that's where we finish for today's video. Leading by example is so important, and it's one of those elements that has survived decades of differing and often divergent theories and still remained relevant to nearly any leadership approach. If you only have the capacity or the time to focus on improving one aspect of your leadership, then this is the one. So hopefully you found that video useful. Please do leave a comment and let me know what you thought. And if you enjoyed today's topic, then you're welcome to hit the like button as well. Next week we'll be looking at personal development, and you can subscribe to the channel to be notified when I post that video. Leading by example is one of the 5 core factors of my Leading with Integrity leadership approach. If you're a new manager and you're interested in learning more about leading with integrity and how it can transform your own leadership and management style, then you'll find a link in the description below where you can learn more. Thanks again for watching, stay safe and be a leader, not a boss.